So then we're going to just talk about Cole Palmer. He was a little bit quiet, do you not think?
I think he was quiet. I mean, to be fair to him, there's reports that he didn't train until Saturday. He's been out injured most of the week, the reports were, so he was a little bit rusty.
However, he played, the whole game?
He played the whole game and he wasn't particularly effective, but I think in the same way that they did a really good job, Maresca did a really good job, I think, in trying to shut down Odegaard. I think theirs was less successful than ours shutting down. I think ours was more successful shutting down Palmer than theirs was with Odegaard. I think we did a really good job in just not allowing Palmer to get the ball where he wants the ball, in the part of the pitch where he does most of his damage. He was rusty for sure, but I would credit Arsenal more on the job they did on him rather than him just being poor. There's murmurs going around that he's not a big game player. I think that's a little bit harsh. He has scored some big goals in some big games so far, but it's his second season. He's a marked man, so I think he needs to expect that this season, we kind of know what you're about. There will be big games where he doesn't shine, but I think overall, I think he'll be fine. But yesterday, it was good from our point of view that he didn't have a great game.
Yeah, I think we blocked off the entry passes into him a little bit. Also, we kept away from our area. I haven't seen the data around this yet, Tom, but I wonder how many box entries he had. I haven't got a picture of him of being around our box too much. And I think he's in the box, I think he's stone cold. He can slot, pass, do what you like in there. So you've got to keep him away from your goal. And I think, and when he can't get near the goal, what he tends to do, he drops away into non-dangerous areas. So he almost talks himself out of his best game. And what he probably needs to do and learn a little bit more is to stay in those areas and sometimes take people for a run. But you don't see him running behind, do you, very often? And you don't see him off the ball when they're not in control of possession. So for me, his game is not rounded. I won't rubbish him, although I have done.
Terrible player.
Although I have done in my private moments, I've rubbished him. Because I think he's getting his flowers too early. I don't think his game is rounded, but he's got a super talent, super relaxed. He approaches football in a way that kids in cages play football, like cage football. He approaches football in a really good way. So I don't think that should be ridiculed or rubbish. But I also don't like the chat he's the best player in the Premier League, because I don't think he is.
Well, that conversation about Saka came up almost immediately because he was playing, last season more so on the right-hand side. So naturally, fans like rivalries, not just within clubs, but within players, and you want to put those two up against one another. Saka's been doing this since he was 17 for a lot longer. He's established himself in these positions. He's established himself as a player that can take England forwards. And yes, Palmer scoring in a European final is a massive achievement for him, and quite rightly so. But the way in which Saka, I think, does it on such a consistent basis, does turn up in these big games. First game back, Liverpool, bang, goal, gives Arsenal the lead in that game. And that, I think, sometimes will be where Palmer has to learn to grow. Last season, Chelsea were a team in transition under a different manager, and they've chucked so much money at different players, different talents. Eventually, one of them's going to come good. Palmer has come good last season, but I think there is an element of him standing out as well amongst other players that were underperforming, which obviously boosts his profile. But I think that Arsenal tactically yesterday did well in shutting him down. Yeah, I think you're right to point out that he didn't have too much in terms of training in the week. But I do think there is something to be said about how narrow we set up so that he could effectively have those wide areas if he wanted to move into them. We forced him into those areas with Neto. They ended up getting their equaliser because Neto switched to the other side because he was having so little joy. He was getting crosses in, sure, but those chances they created that Gusto definitely should have taken away when he got that header in that moment, they came from moments where we had forced them into low frequency, high chance opportunities. And that's a credit to the defence and to the way we set up.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Neto's goal came from him coming from out to in. So I think what we did in trying to make them go wide for most of the game was successful. And I think if Arsenal could have their choices of, do you want Chelsea to have the ball centrally or wide, we'd rather allow them to have it wide, because if you cross it, we are confident that with Saliba and Gabriel and Raya's ability to claim crosses, you can cross all day long. We'll probably be all right in that sense. And I think in the first half, I noticed towards the back end of the first half, Cole Palmer was doing what he suggested. He was drifting wide and deep to get the ball because he couldn't get it. Yeah. That was, I think, a reflection of how well we were doing in terms of keeping him away from our box. Because if you let him, a bit like Odegaard, if you let him on the half turn in and around our box, you're dead. I don't rate Jackson that highly, but they've got something going on there. So I think we did a really good job in just keeping him and keeping them in areas that were low percentage chances.
I mean, he had two stunning chances at two free kicks. I mean, one after the other in a way. Mm-hmm. And after the first one didn't go in, you thought, OK, he's lining up for a second. I mean, and it's even better position. And both of them hit our walls. Was that more him or was that more us?
Still the poor free kicks.
Yeah, just 2 poor free kicks. I think I think there was a moment in the game that was an underrated turning point, and it was Malo Gusto's header, but also him getting injured. Because I think he stopped making runs after that. And making runs on that side would have supported Palmer in a better way. And I think his third man running to create that extra player, I thought was really, really missed by Chelsea. So his ankle turned. And again, I rewatched the game, but I got this feeling of he disappeared after that moment, offensively. Because I think he's a really good player. And much like our players, they need those support line running, our better players, to allow them to devastate the opposition. Odegaard needs it, Saka needs it, we spoke about that. How we connect from fullback areas is really important. On the other side, I thought Timber made a few first phase runs to get in behind, and he got better offensively the game went on. And I think, again, it allowed us to get up the pitch. When you're having people playing outside of your shape, like we did to them, people who make those brave runs to run through distort the game a little bit. And I thought they missed Gusto. Cole Palmer missed him. So he did what we said. He said, I better get on the ball then. I'm having a bit of a stinker here. Let me have a touch. I don't care where it is, but we're thinking, yeah, you can have a touch
On the
over
halfway
there.
line.
You can really have that touch there. And that's just the to and fro's of any game.
So then I'm going to swing it back round to that near goal at the very, very end. Should we have won the game?
Yes.
I'm not ready to talk about this shit, Tom. Emotionally,
I think there are people like Clive that are kind of justifying this to themselves in a way and making themselves feel better by thinking it was offside. I'm here to tell you that I don't think it was.
There are two sides at the moment. There are some people saying that it is offside, and then some people are saying that it's not.
If it had gone in, we would have found out, because VAR obviously would have given us the evidence to show whether or not it would have been a goal. From the images that I've seen, and from, there's a lot of people mocking up obviously different lines and putting their own images on there. I've seen some pretty high-tech images of it. It looks onside.
I think it's onside.
And the trailing leg of Cucurella, where his foot is, and because Saliba's leaning forwards, and obviously when you're leaning, the lines will look slightly distorted because of perspective. Saliba looks onside. And by the way, who's the guy that plays the pass to Saliba in that moment? Do you remember?
Odegaard, wasn't it?
Odegaard. Yes, Odegaard who plays the ball. And again, it's Odegaard being that creative figure in the Arsenal team and creating that position. As Odegaard's playing it, Trossard's running in behind. And I'm not going to criticise Trossard for taking the shot. I think that's something that maybe is a little... You could talk about awareness. I think in the 90th, last kick of the game, if you're not too aware of what's going on in the same way around you, you see a ball coming across the box, you've got a goalkeeper between you and the net, you're going to go and take that shot if you've got the opportunity. I will criticise the execution of the chance, for sure, because he should do much better. And to be honest, of all the players in Arsenal's team,
I was just gonna
you
say
bank on Trossard being our best finisher.
agree, yeah.
And this last few games, and I don't know if it's a response and a knock-on from him playing more interiorly, if that's had an impact on his confidence. He doesn't look the same Trossard last season when we need a goal against Bayern Munich. He rocks up and scores. We need a goal at home against Porto in the Champions League. He rocks up and scores. I usually would bank on Trossard taking those types of chances and getting kind of the touch. And it's an inside of the boot. You want to angle it away from the keeper so it goes across him and into the bottom right-hand corner. And that's what he tries to do. But then on the replays, you just see Havertz there. And you're like, if you just know that Havertz is there and you let that ball run, 2-1.
And if there's one person you want scoring a 90-plus minute winner at Stamford Bridge, it's Kai Havertz.
I needed that celebration. I'm so gutted it was ruled out.
I know, especially after, obviously, the goal earlier, well, the non-goal earlier.